So the SS496 Chevelle project finally got all wrapped up. And in fact, the car's been on the road for quite a while now. So we thought it'd be a good time to kind of revisit the project and go over the high points of what made that car so nice. Basically, the original goal was to kind of tune that car up so that it looked like an original SS396 Chevelle, but we wanted to give it more power and more usable power and increase the driving manners of the car to make it handle better and stop better and be more comfortable. And I think we've achieved the goals all the way across the board. The heart of the SS496 project was the 496 cubic inch stroker motor built by Fast Times Motor Works. So it was in this very park a long time ago when we first did this same shot and popped the hood on this car and showed you what was the original 454, and now it's the 496 stroker motor. We started off by using the original 454 block that came with the car. The block was a mid-70s vintage truck motor, but it had never been cut, so it made for a good candidate to build a stroker. A lot of the mechanical stuff came from the guys at Holley.
The intake manifold is a ported Wyand piece, and the cylinder heads are aluminum Holley parts. We wanted to keep a stealth look under the hood, almost a factory SS396 look, but the competition headers kind of give it away because they're ceramic coated and a large tube design. But we were able to stick with the V-belts and a cool look on the motor that doesn't look anywhere near as high-tech as it really is.
Inside that motor, we used nothing but high-quality ARP fasteners. And then there was also a kind of a mild hydraulic roller camshaft and valve train assembly. Another kind of stealth performance part is the MSD E-curve distributor. It's got a black cap, it's got black wires, it doesn't require an external box, but it's got an internal rev limiter, and you can set the advanced curves electronically just by turning two screws under the cap. To kind of keep a nostalgic look to the engine, we painted the black orange and we used chrome original style SS396 valve covers. And then on top of the motor, we capped it off with a reproduction 70.5 Z28 dual snorkel air cleaner. Although that dual snorkel isn't, exactly original for the car, it doesn't raise an eyebrow. And we actually had to modify that thing quite a bit because of the height of the intake manifold. We wanted to keep a stock SS hood on the car. So we ended up cutting the dome out of the middle of the air filter housing and putting in a flat piece so that we gained our hood clearance back. And then to make that whole assembly breathe better, we punched a series of 1-inch holes all the way around the back side of it. And if you look at it, you can't really tell it happened, but it helps the motor breathe a little bit better. We also used a Holley billet fuel pump on this car because not only was it going to supply fuel for the motor, but we also hid an NOS power shot nitrous system on it. And that's a plate style system, so you put a little plate between the carburetor and the intake manifold. But Nick Scavo came up with a pretty trick bracket that mounted both of the nitrous and fuel solenoids behind the carburetor underneath that big air cleaner assembly. And the lines all got powder coated black. We powder coated the bracket black and actually painted the solenoids black. We hid the wiring, and the big fuel line that came up from that Holley pump into the carb that also supplied the nitrous fuel, we wrapped all those braided hoses. Those are Earl's high performance braided hoses, but we hid them inside of a piece of rubber hose so that, again, not that this is a real street sleeper, but if you pop the hood and look at the motor, everything appears to be pretty much stock. Little do you know that it's making over 550 horsepower, 575 foot-pounds of torque, and with a flip of a switch, it's going to add another 150 from that nitrous kit. For lubrication, we're using nothing but Royal Purple synthetic fluids from front to back. There's synthetic motor oil, transmission fluid, rear axle gear oil, even grease in the car. And people ask me all the time, does that really make a difference? Does it really make more power, as they say? And what you got to realize is that the oil itself doesn't make any more power, but it reduces friction better than conventional oil. And if you reduce the friction, the engine itself can make more power. So that's what ends up happening. By reducing friction, it also reduces heat, so all the assemblies in the car run cooler, the transmission, the rear axle, and that's all good for longevity. But then another thing that I really like about these synthetics, Royal Purple has an additive package in it that stands up to moisture. And what you don't realize is when you first start a car up and it starts puffing out, clouds of steam out the back, what it's doing is the engine is trying to combust ambient air that is full of humidity. And when you compress that before the engine reaches operating temperature, that humidity gets pumped all the way through the system, and some of it ends up in the oil. And conventional oil can be affected by that moisture, and in fact can turn acidic and can start attacking your engine from the inside out. Well, Royal Purple Synthetic has a much better additive package designed to where it's not affected so much by that moisture, and it won't become corrosive inside the engine and attack from the inside out. And that's another reason why it helps engines last longer. The car's got a really good sound going down the road thanks to the MagnaFlow stainless dual exhaust.
The X-pipe in the middle and the MagnaFlow muffler design sound aggressive without resonating like crazy, but when you step on it, it's just loud enough to let you know that there's some power. One of the greatest attributes of this car is how well it drives, and the main elements are the Global West suspension, the performance suspension component sway bars, good shocks, and the OPGI lowering springs. It corners nearly dead flat, but it still rides nice and smooth without bouncing you around and beating you up like a real stiff suspension system can. The overall look is obviously very important when putting a car like this together, and we returned it to its original butternut yellow color and then added the two-tone below the beltline trim in white. The wheel and tire package can make or break a car, and these we think are right on. The wheels are Vintage Wheelworks V40s, 17x8s all the way around, and BF Goodrich G-Force KDW tires for flat cornering and a nice ride. The car has tremendous braking power thanks to the big Bear brakes and the Hydrotech Hydro Boost unit. It's very nice and linear and very controllable and provides all the stopping power you could want.
Another thing we pointed out when we first got into this car was that the interior was covered in goofy gauges and weird stuff.
We cleaned up the dash with a reproduction Chevelle SS Rally gauge set and restored the console and steering wheel and tilt column, and now it's much cleaner inside.
And it's just a nice, happy, subtle car that is really tight, really clean, really sharp, fits together really well, and it just has the look. But I think the best part of the whole SS496 experience is driving the car. I mean, it has great power, tremendous torque anywhere in the tack. You can be driving along at any RPM, put your foot down, and you're pressed in the seat. You put your foot all the way down, you'll break the tires loose. It's just a lot of fun to drive. It corners flat, handles flat, it doesn't squeak, it doesn't rattle. I mean, it feels like it basically is a brand new car. It's comfortable to sit in. It's nice with the amenities, the convertible top and the audio system. It's not obnoxiously loud. I mean, it's everything you could want in a car like this. So we were very happy with the way this thing came out. And if you want any more information about any of the parts we used to put this car together, there's a whole list in the SS496 project page on our website at V8TVshow.com.